Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Throttle Talk, your weekly podcast for all of the automotive news in the Middle East and around the world. My name is Anthony and my co-host is Nick. Today, this episode is all about you.
Yeah, I'm kind of flattered. It's almost as if
I
had no idea.
Well, you love to talk about yourself, so this is the
Oh,
time.
wow.
This is the time for you to shine.
Made me sound like a narcissist. Okay, here we go.
But
Great first impressions, guys.
No, actually, this episode is going to be an interesting one because we're going to talk about resto mods and restorations. And since Nick Doing Car Things is all about that, I think a lot of people would be interested to know a bit more about what you do besides the podcast, of course. I mean, some people do follow you on your
800 and no, wait, no.
What? 800?
No, I really shout out a number. Hold up. Let me pull it real quick. I really shot that number out, didn't I? 721. Wow.
800, is it?
Yeah, and I was like, no,
what?
that's too cocky. I'm too cocky.
Yeah, too much.
No,
I told you guys. I told you. He likes to talk about himself.
Oh, says Mr. 20K fault. Anyway.
Should I correct you?
It's 24.1.
Is it though? I forgot.
You don't need to pull it.
Yeah, it's fine.
We know your credentials.
But anyways, yeah. Some people do follow you, and you told me last time a lot of people are actually DMing you to start a YouTube channel because they're more interested about it. So I thought maybe this episode we would talk about what you do and give people listeners an input into that.
Yeah,
so,
I hope people like care for what I say. Like, listen, I really did get I got around like 8 or 9 DMs. People are telling me like, start a YouTube channel because they're very interested in like the depth. Yeah. But then at the same time, I thought about it. Half the work I do is fucking dirty in the sense of when you're grinding off paint or whatever, it's just dust flying everywhere. And if one speck enters the camera, it's game over. Like, you know, unless I start doing cuts.
You can do it on your phone, man.
I could do that. Yeah, that's a possibility.
So let's start it off.
We'll see with audio how it goes before we move to video.
Yeah. So Nick Doing Car Things, how did that become a thing for you?
All right,
we talked about this very briefly before. It was just for photography, your Instagram account?
It used to be D850 Nick. Because, like, I don't know. For me, I love taking photos of cars, of my friends' cars, my cars. But then at one point, I felt like that was pretty pretentious. Like, not in this, like, you know, and how many times can you look at a photo of the same car? Like, I follow a lot of accounts that are just for one car. Like this guy, for example, Deceptive M4. I don't know if he still has his account, but like he's an M4.
Deceptive M4.
It's just a very nice M4 competition that's fully blacked out. And BMW used to always repost him. And I was like, okay. I found him through there and I just followed him since. Mm-hmm. You know, but I just found it like it's too much to just keep posting one car. Like, you know, the same thing. It's an M2. It's not going to become like an M8 by like next photo, you know? So I just decided like, you know, I stopped for a while. And then with COVID, the whole lockdown, everything came. I felt like I have needed something, an outlet to like to remain safe at home, but keep myself occupied, you know? Okay. So I just...
You just graduated and...
I graduated in June 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, so since then I was taking like a 1-year break from uni. COVID started. Mm-hmm. So global hiring freeze. Yeah, there's not much I can do.
Yeah.
So went out and found like a project car to work on, you know, something different than anything else that I've done before to just learn off of.
So that's how you decided to start working on cars, just out of like boredom? Can I say boredom?
Not really boredom. No, it's partially like you could say boredom, but at the same time it's just to like grow in the sense of like I like cars. For me are just what I like about cars. It's millions.
Before you do that, can we just preface what did you study in uni and like how do you...
I studied electrical engineering.
Okay.
Ideally what I wanted to do was mechatronics, but since I was staying in AUB don't offer as its separate major. Okay. It's more of a track. But at that time, I was just so sick of like the whole... I just didn't go through with the mechatronic part of the electrical engineering track. But so I did electrical engineering, and cars and whatnot have always been like a side side hobby for me in the sense of I always used to wrench on cars.
Okay.
Not, of course,
Wrench
not.
every day.
Yeah, I wrench every day. No, but not to the extent of like what I'm doing now or what I did with other cars. But in the end, when you have a new car, there's really not much you could do. You know, you're not gonna risk warranty. Khalas, nothing's broken for you to like need to fix. You know, so did that, then moved on. You know, COVID, and now we're here. So yeah. One thing I do want to point out though, a lot of people message me about like, what did you learn this in uni? No, I did not.
Yeah, that's why I asked you the question.
Like I can safely tell you 99% of everything car related that I'm doing has nothing to do with uni. Engines and whatnot is what, like, I don't know, mechanical engineers can chime in. My friend's Mustafa's a mechanical engineer. He did not study anything about this, more or less, like internal combustion engines, whatnot.
You don't learn it.
Yeah, as far as I recall, you don't learn it in AUB at least. It's in other places, it's its own major. So we don't have that. So I guess you probably don't. But from electrical engineering, when I work on a car's electrical systems, I'd say maybe like 20% of what I've learned is put to use.
You can apply it. So
like the rest is like, it's, you're dealing with a DC system. Okay. So you're not going into, anyways. So yeah.
So you got into this, and I mean, did you decide to go into it as like a means for future profit, or just, as you said, for growth and like self gratification?
It depends. Honestly, listen, I would love to like have this as my job, like as a job, because I really do enjoy this. Like truly, I can spend hours in the garage and I won't even like think of like, oh, I'm thirsty or I'm nothing.
Yeah, man. For example, we call you like throughout the day. You don't fucking pick up the phone.
Yeah, I don't like
at like maybe like 8 p.m. You'll be like, yo, I just finished working on the car. What's up?
Yeah,
man, it sounded like 6-7 hours working in the garage.
Man, I'm telling you, it's time nice. Flies, time really does fly. Yeah, so I would love to have this as like a career or whatnot, like buying cars, customizing them, or like fixing up to my standard, or my vision. But the sad reality is, like from my experience in Lebanon, from what I've seen, is people don't often appreciate good work, in the sense of a person would rather go pay $10 10 times to get this one problem fixed rather than like pay $100 once to get something fixed. So if you go up to a person and be like, oh, by the way, this is a car that's completely restored from scratch, like this. They're like, بس إنه في واحدة للبيع لك على. I'm just like, I don't need to do, like, so everything I do at this point is strictly for me. Okay. And like, I don't intend on selling anything. Personally, like, some projects have sentimental value. For example, the first Blazer, the black one, I worked out with my dad.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to the cars you have.
So I have cars that I've worked on with my dad during COVID. We have a car that we got for my dad, so he works on during COVID. Like, so these cars have sentimental value that for me is like money could never. No amount of money you offer me would like be enough for me to be like, okay, yeah, I'll sell, like, So at this point, everything's strictly for me. I just like sharing what I do. Maybe then if I do decide to sell, people will be like, okay, look, no corners cut.
Yeah.
So could be.
Yeah. We're going to get to what you've worked on and what you're working on right now. But I want to ask you, like, going into this, your intentions were to bring back the cars to the way they were before, or you want to add like your personal taste to it, change a few things? ترجع شركة أو لا?
Listen, what I like doing is with old cars, for example, like the Corvette, is I like taking the car as is, and seeing how can I make this car reliable in today's standards and comfortable in today's standards without ruining the character or like the identity of the car, you know? So like I was thinking about like the headlights are really shit. But I was like, I'm not going to install LEDs. Like, it just, for me, like, I like, I like taking it to what the factory would have done, and over that, like next level. Exactly. OEM plus, because like in the end, factories have certain constraints. When any car you buy, there's compromises in places to meet the demand or whatever of the car. So I like taking it and like, what if there were no what's it called? No compromises
No
everywhere. And that's
limitations
yeah,
at the time as well.
exactly. So I just take like what I think is tasteful touches from today, and try to integrate them into the car in ways that aren't too much.
Okay.
It depends. Some cars more than others, you know. But like the Corvette, for example, I'm like fully from outside. If you look at it, it's gonna be completely period correct. Every single thing down to the smallest bolt. Even inside, like there are very few subtle things that you won't notice. Yeah, very much. Like for example, I have. Wait, hold up. It's. Okay. So I have this mirror.
Why do I feel like you just put that as a prop? Like you
No,
know
it was
you're
because it
gonna
was
bring
outside. But this was. So this is a mirror I got.
How convenient.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a mirror I got for the Blazer. I have this also on the Crown Vic,
Looks like
and
a
I got
Tahoe
this.
mirror.
So basically, this
Is
is a
it?
mirror for like $60 you can get off Amazon. That's auto dimming.
Okay.
That to me is a necessity, like, you know. So
Yeah.
this is something the car wouldn't have come with. So for the Corvette, I got the same type of mirror, but part of it is also an LCD built in. So if I put reverse, it shows up here.
Okay,
I don't
okay.
I don't add any like screen or anything, you know. Just keeping
So
it.
like hidden quirks that
hidden
suit you and help you.
Yeah,
and
like creature comforts,
creature
you know.
comforts.
Nothing too crazy.
Would it be important to you to have like a car with like matching numbers everywhere and
It
like,
depends.
you know?
It depends on, for example, the Corvette. For me, I personally was very interested in the car because it had all matching numbers, 57,000 original miles. So, and like what was cool is when I took the car apart, I started seeing more and more of these like like for example, the
Yeah.
carburetor rebuild, the numbers on it, 1976. Certain like model, because you had changes throughout the years. You find them, oh no, this is 70, like, so everything checks out. Nothing
Yeah.
about the car is wrong. And that's something I was happy about, because part of the
Makes
reason
you
why
more, like you fall in love with the car even more and the project, I guess.
yeah,
right?
it's just, it feels like you have something that's very original to say
Yeah.
that. Like for example, the Blazers, I know for a fact they do not have matching numbers with the engines, like, but like in the end the engine like did around like 500,000 miles and then died. Like, no, khalas, that car for me, even though I don't really care too much about matching numbers, it's just on this specific car I did because I paid a premium for it.
Yeah.
You know, there was
Yeah.
a premium attached. Like, oh no, this is an all matching, you know. And C3 Corvettes are starting to appreciate not slowly. They're appreciating. They're much more expensive than before. Like, you know, people used to buy these for dirt cheap. They're starting to go up slowly
Yeah.
in value, and because
people are taking an interest.
yeah,
Recently,
people are liking them. They're very comfortable cars.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you, what's the first car you personally worked on?
Okay.
Was it the Crown Vic?
Like no. So we have, I could say, the 4 Series maybe. Like if that counts.
All right, if we're gonna go
Like
in that lane, sure. Okay,
435 air intake I installed. Downpipe I did not install. What else did I install in that car? That car was that's pretty much it. Like everything. Oh no, I did install some interior lights. Like the facelift model came out with an AC surround that was gloss black.
I remember that.
And had
LEDs,
LEDs,
ambient lighting.
yeah, ambient
behind it.
lighting.
Yeah.
I wired that in.
But I mean,
what else?
Which car did you get in the intentions of like working on it and like restoring it in a way to drive it?
Okay, that would be the Crown Vic.
Yeah.
The Crown Vic, I got it from a friend's dad in Batroun. Okay. He had bought it off of the auction that happened in the customs. Remember, like a few years ago, they held a public auction for cars that didn't have the Jimruk paid.
Okay.
So he had bought it for, I think, around 2.5K. And he's
Really?
like, I paid 4 for it. I was like, okay, I really want this car. Here's 4. You know, I didn't even argue. Test drove the car. I knew, like, instantly before buying it, I went up and joined every single Facebook group, went on every single forum, read every single thing to read about them. So I pretty much knew what I was getting into. Car was rock solid, nothing, no mechanical issues, nothing at all.
How many miles off when you got
This is considered low mileage. Keep this in mind. So it was a Canadian police car. Okay. It has 151,000 kilometers on it.
Wow.
Which I was joining the forums. They're like, the engine is great. It will last you up until 900,000 miles. They're like, the transmission is so shit. I'm like, oof, transmission is shit. That's bad. They're like, yeah, it usually goes out 400,000 miles. I'm just like, really? But
You're lucky to
I
get to
broke the
200
transmission
thou,
2
man.
months into ownership though.
I mean, you're driving.
That was no. This I'll get in. You want me to get into that?
Sure. Okay.
So basically, when I bought the car, I started replacing, like, first thing I did, full fluid change for every single fluid in the car. New pads, the discs, the rotors. Our mechanics, yeah, he said they're fine. You can go on them. I'm like, okay, I kept them. So, and everything else was checking out. Like, the car wasn't overheat. Like, there were no issues whatsoever. AC was running cold. Like, really amazing. And the transmission never gave me any issues. So one day I had decided to go on Metnes Seria, and I was like, you know what? I want to drive this car like the M2. Like, and I want to drive up Metnes Seria the whole road and keep the car within torque range, because that car, the second you let off the gas, it feels like a CVT. It's as if it goes into neutral. It coasts.
Yeah.
And when you shift, like, shifting speed is horrible. So, like, you lose a lot. I was just like, Khalas, I'm in the mood. Let me do it. So I went up Metnes Seria in second gear. Okay. And I reached Duhur, and I hear like some noise. I'm like, okay. I turn off, I park, I go, the noise doesn't come back again. A few days later, the noise comes back big time, and like cluster starts lighting like a Christmas tree. I'm like, okay, I fucked it up.
Yeah.
I go park it at Jay's at night, and I thought it was a simple thing. So what had happened is, because when I bought the car, the weather was pretty cold. Okay, I did not know that the car needed a new condenser, AC condenser. So it's basically like a radiator for the AC.
Okay.
But what I didn't know on the Crown Vic is the condenser, even though it looked good, nothing like it did look good from outside. The condenser is also the transmission cooler.
Oh.
So I did not know that, and the radiator was fine, and I had it checked out.
Yeah.
So I fucked the transmission because the AC condenser was fucked, but there was no way I would know, because the AC was running perfectly.
Yeah.
Like, really perfectly.
So what was the issue looking?
It was the condenser. The condenser was just beat up, like, with rocks, like debris from road, like,
How was the condenser helping the AC bring out
so basically
air?
it just runs the air through. Like, it's basically like a radiator for the AC. Same thing. So right now outside there's the Corvette radiator. You're gonna see plugs on the side. These are for the transmission cooler.
Okay.
So those exist. So for some reason Ford decided, no, let's not attach it. No, just do on the AC condenser. So yeah, I went through a lot of things. Like, I was so pissed off, because as well the car would start to overheat. Like, the AC system, the heating, the way it's done on the car is like the engine temperature also is tied into the transmission temperature. So when the transmission overheats, the engine would overheat.
What?
I went crazy, man. I went all out. I got a high flow upgraded water pump.
Yeah.
I sent the radiator out, had it all pressure tested, cleaned everything, because I was thinking maybe the radiator's clogged. I took apart the cooling system completely, checked that there's no cracks, no nothing, like, and I was looking, there are no parts for me to upgrade, Got a transmission cooler, like, pretty much. I have another one here, yeah. I got a transmission cooler like this for the car, and this one is not made for like normal car. This is made for, it's made for RVs. It's made for like towing extreme weights, So I did all of that thing. Yeah.
You got the heavy duty shit.
And then in the end, I'm like, there's really not much I can fucking do anymore.
Yeah.
And then I changed the condenser, and
it worked.
Yeah, I could have. Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh no! Oh, one more thing.
What?
Also, something I didn't realize: the fan on the car that cools the radiator and the transmission, whatever, the connectors were melted.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it never gave me a single issue, and that's the weird thing. So the fans wouldn't turn on always. Not just the fan control, like the fan itself, the connector is melted. The fan controller itself was also bad. And how did I diagnose that in the end? When you turn on the AC in the Crown Vic, automatically the fans kick on.
Okay.
Sometimes they would, sometimes they wouldn't. And so in the end, I ended up getting a new fan relay module. Rather than buying a new fan, because I know the fan works, I fixed up the connectors, made them watertight, and
that worked.
It's been rocking steady since.
So what else have you done to the Crown Vic besides that?
So Crown Vic had one issue which I knew about, but I was ready to overlook is it had rusted floorboards in the car because it was in Montreal, so it was in Canada, and you know they destroy roads with salt and everything.
Salt and snow and
So so the car but the car is a body on frame, so the body and so it's nothing structural, you know. So the rust I had was not structural or in any way, so it was just simple. So I was driving the car when I first bought it, and I'm pushing my foot on the gas, and then just goes through the floor. It's like I see the floor. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. So I had that fixed. After that, I just
they had like fabricated new flooring for the car.
It's simple. It's just a flat sheet of metal welded in.
Like they welded, not rivets.
No, welded, not rivets. Okay. Then I changed the interior. The interior came with ripped seats. I reupholstered the whole interior. Yeah. It had ripped seats. The seats in the back were mismatched with the front, but then it's a Crown Vic thing. It's a police interceptor package thing. The rear seats are vinyl.
Oof.
Yeah, so they're made easy for you to clean if someone. Yeah.
Like blood smeared
I changed
on the car.
speakers, upgraded the speakers, upgraded the head unit.
You had like a center console thing.
Yeah, I got a police center console, and I did custom cutouts for buttons and things that I added. Like I have a USB charger, like automatically a 12-volt outlet, 6 switches, one for I have an auxiliary cooling fan for the transmission. I have that. I have some forward LEDs because the headlights are shit.
I was gonna tell you. You also added the front steel.
My friend gifted me for my birthday. Gifted me a Cetina aluminum front bumper.
Was it a gift?
It was a gift. It was a birthday gift from a friend. Oof. And because he insisted when I bought the car, he's like, you have to put it. I'm like, I don't know, man. I kind of like this. Yeah. So me and him did it at his house. I actually
like it. It's nice.
I absolutely love it. It was one of the best things I've done, and like really, it changed the whole character of the car.
It's like man, when you see it on the road, it's like just get the fuck out of my way.
It's just when you're driving, it's so nice. You see 2 forks like popping out, like so you always know where your front is. You know.
It has a long hood as well, so it's good to,
exactly.
good to know the parameters of the car.
And besides that, added a rear trunk subwoofer.
Speaking of the trunk, did you fix the issue with the locking of the trunk or that?
Oh yeah, that was a long. So yeah, also the trunk lock. I had to get a new one because you would close it wouldn't close. It would be like a basketball game.
I remember.
Just dribble the trunk until it slams. No. It's been resolved.
Hatta the car, the rear doors, you had to open them from the outside.
Yeah, so it's a police car, so there are like the rear doors don't open on the inside. It's just a blank. Like so, you pull the handle, does nothing. Doesn't open. You know, so you have to open the driver's door, pull it out. You know, you pull out.
There's like a latch.
Like a little lever you pull out, and it unlocks the rear door. You push it back in, it locks it. So it's really it's character. I like it.
Yeah, I like the car. Talking about the Crown Vic, what came next? What came after that?
So after Crown Vic was pre-COVID. Okay.
Yeah.
What came was in April 2020. It's crazy. We're in 2020. I have to wow, we lost a year to nothing. Okay. The Blazer. I was in the market. I was really like looking for a Land Cruiser 100 series, and I found one, and it was on OLX.
I love those cars.
Like the guy who owns it was very honest, and my friends knew him. Okay. You know, and the price was really good.
Was it like restored or?
It just needed a bit of TLC, like nothing. Okay. The guy had done everything, you know. Okay. So it would have been a nice like off-roader car because Land Cruisers are basically apocalypse vehicles. They're amazing, they're bulletproof, really, in every sense. But then my dad's like, why a Land Cruiser? Why not a K5 Blazer?
Yeah.
I'm like, why? He's like, you can remove the rear part of the body. Like you can make it basically a pickup, a convertible pickup.
Convertible.
I was like, you know what? The size, the car, I like that, you know, because they're not going to make cars that are this bulky or this square. Like it's a square body, by the way. That's what
it's massive.
And it's just massive, absolutely massive. And I'm just
for those that don't know the car, anyone Lebanese that doesn't know the car, it's the truck that the army drives.
The Chevy trucks.
The Chevy trucks. Yeah. They have the really small taillights in the back, the square taillights.
Yeah.
For those who don't know what the car looks like.
So I got that car, and after that came the Corvette, and after that came another Blazer.
Okay. But you faced some problems with the Blazer that you got
the first Blazer we faced issues with the fact that we were somewhat conned. Like we thought like, you know what, we went and met the guy, and he was telling us like, he has 3 Blazers. We saw them all. He's
Okay.
like, no, I'm just selling because really like the banks took my money, and like, you know, I was working on restoring this, but and the paint outside was like looked good, you know. He's like, I started with body and paint, but then I ran out of money, and you know, so we're like, okay, you know, we fell for that story.
So you wanted to sell that particular car, not like one of the 3, and you had to pick.
Yeah,
free
like
pick between
so
all
he
3.
had 2 other cars. So, and this is where I fault myself. I find like really it's my fault for just this one reason. So one of the cars that was very lifted, but like extremely rusty. Like it was so obvious, you know. I'm
Okay.
like, no. The second car was stripped to the core, and I should have went for that car because everything is
could
visible.
see. Yeah, you could see everything.
But then again, I was like, okay, I need to find seats. I need to find like, you know. And so this the one I bought.
Which you ended up doing, by the way.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I fault myself.
Yeah.
But this car I personally went for because I saw I had the GM14 bolt, which is like a super, super heavy duty differential.
Yeah.
So any tire size I throw on the car, it's indestructible. You know, it's basically what you find on tow trucks, on silver, like till today that differential is in use. You know?
Does it come from the factory like that, or was it like
no,
a thing
someone took it from either a Defender, Suburban, or what's it called, the US, like the Army Jeeps,
All right, so
or a
someone
tow
added
truck,
that
like, you know,
later
it's
on.
it's something Wrangler guys know. A 14 bolt is like the goal, like, you know, if you want to run like 50-inch tires, like those, that's what you need to get. So I was like, you know what, it saves me the money and like the hassle of finding, and like, so, and the car looked like the paint, I was like, I don't have to spend money on paint, and it looked good.
Looked good.
But there were a lot of hidden, when I say a lot, I mean everywhere you turn. It's not like some like, oh, this needs a new bolt. You're like, oh, it just needs a new bolt. It ends up you need like a whole new car, like, you know. There, so we worked it all out.
Do you suspect that the problem was work that has been done here in Lebanon, or?
I'm pretty sure at one
US.
point, like, it's because this car has been worked in Lebanon.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like a lot of what's it called?
Like they cut corners.
They cut corners,
bad.
and they just tell you it's the same thing. It's always the same. No, it's still like, I'm like, bro, really? So like, I was at one point, I was extremely frustrated with the car. Like, you know, we worked out everything though. We rebuilt everything. We got the engine re-sleeved. We rebuilt the whole engine, got it cammed, got new cams, intake manifold, carburetor, like nothing stock, nothing.
Yeah.
Got, like, really, we built the car from the ground up again. Suspension, everything. We got suspension the first time, measured, got everything. Then we sent it off for alignment. They're like, oh, you need a new differential. The guy has like really destroyed the mounting of the differential. So there's no way to align this. So I had to get a new differential. Got a new differential. The old suspension, which was new that we had bought, no longer works. Had to buy new. So it was just,
What a hassle,
yeah.
man.
So that car,
Shit.
but that car is nearly done. We just sent it off. There's some slight, and we figured out after we installed the new
It's
differential.
funny though, every time I ask you like, what's up with the Blazer? Yeah, it's nearly done.
No. This time, really, it's because once we installed the new differential, we noticed an issue, and we figured out why he had fucked around with the previous front differential. It's because what's it called? The car had at some point been in an impact of some sorts, and we didn't know because he had covered everything up with like
that black what is
like
it called?
like an underbody coating,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it was
yeah.
when we inspected, we couldn't see anything, you know.
It looked brand new.
Yeah, exactly. And then it turns out it had been in some form of impact. So this is body on frame. It's very easy to fix.
Yeah.
So I just got it sent out to get the chassis straightened because the front passenger tire sticks out like 2 centimeters more than the rear tire, and it's only in the front pass. So
Shit.
that's getting sorted, and it's gonna go off to inspection very soon.
Great. All right. Well, we're gonna get to your other cars in a bit, but let's just take a little break.
We'll take a
and
little water break.
Yeah, we'll be back. in a bit.
All right.
All right. So we're back. We talked about you getting the first Blazer.
Yeah.
After that, you decided to get a Corvette, a C3.
Yeah, I had reached a point after the Beirut blast,
Right.
because the Beirut blast changed life in a really drastic way.
Especially for you guys. You guys. were
Yeah,
impacted pretty
so I needed something to because basically we used to always go to my sister's house, my sister and her husband's house, and chill out, and like we didn't feel the effects of COVID too much. Beirut blast happened, that was all like taken away.
Yeah.
So I just needed something, an outlet to focus on, you know,
An
to be
escape
able,
for a
yeah,
while.
exactly, to find, because if I just stayed at home, I would really like, it's not pleasant. You're in a very dark place and
And
always
you're
like,
you're the type of person that has to be
I have,
active and have to
yeah,
do stuff. You can't just sit around and
yeah,
just
I
mope.
generally love like, I love seeing people. I love like doing things, you know. I'm
Yeah.
very active. I might not be very fit, but like I'm very active. You know, so
Yeah.
so I got that car. I was like, because the Blazer khalas, it's out of my control. There's I can't straighten the chassis myself. Like fuck
Yeah,
it, you know.
yeah.
I need something else, and I want something to do purely by myself. Like working with my dad was one of my fondest, like the greatest things that to ever happen, because
So
he
the
has
Blazer,
such,
the Blazer is the car you and your dad worked on. That's the
yes,
sentimental car you mentioned before.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, I remember once I showed up here in the garage and your dad were like inside the engine bay, like because
Yeah,
the car
you
is
sit.
huge.
Yeah,
There
you
was
took apart the engine
they were
with us.
literally sitting inside the engine bay, like working on the engine,
And
like
it's all
taking it
metal,
apart.
so like, you know,
Yeah.
they don't make them like they used to. So no, so working alongside my dad was one of the greatest things that really has happened to me, for one simple reason. Picking his brain. My
Yeah.
dad is like, he's a mechanical engineer, studied mechanical engineering, but he is so much more than that, and it's crazy. So when he was in university, he would often buy cars, flip them, fix them up, flip them for pocket money. Like,
Yeah.
you know, he was fully like, nobody was funding him, you know. His
Yeah.
parents weren't that rich either. So I learned a lot from him, you know, and it's crazy seeing how his mind works. And so working on that was like the greatest thing. So then I decided, so the Crown Vic, by the way, is where I got to practice all of my theory, electrical knowledge in theory from university.
Yeah.
I got to
After
put it in practice,
graduation, yeah.
because just one thing, police cars, once they're auctioned off, they simply just remove the like all the lights and
Yeah, you
sirens
mentioned
and
this
shit,
in a previous
and they
episode.
just cut the
Yeah,
wires,
yeah.
and you're just like left, you know. So I got the Ford police what's it called? Police modification guide. But I read through. I had to diagnose. So I figured out what circuits, you know. So that's where I practice my
like
electrical.
what goes where and
Exactly. So
everything.
that's where I
Yeah.
practice all like, and finding like basically hidden gremlins and shit. Okay, that
Yeah.
was all with the Ford, the electrical, the mechanical knowledge, which I always possessed, like, you know, because I read a lot, watch a lot, like
Was
I'm always,
reinforced more with
yeah,
working with
exactly.
your
Once you
dad.
work on something with your own hands and you see it in person, like this is why I find that experience is one of the, like, you can teach anyone something, but unless they do it with their own hands, they're never gonna be good at it. You know?
100%. Yeah.
So the Blazer was where like I was working alongside my dad. The electrical part of the car, I did it myself, pretty much like 80%.
Okay.
Because my dad also likes to do electrical, so he did like 20%. Mechanical, I was working alongside him, but like he's taking lead, you know. But I
Yeah.
learned a lot from him, and basically, so buying the Corvette, I decided that it's gonna be purely me. Like I will only work on this car by myself. Like no one else is allowed to touch it, just because I want to just further my knowledge, you know, and my abilities. And the nice thing about the cars that I'm buying, the Blazers and the Corvette, is they all share the same engine.
I was gonna ask you, like, you're going American. Like, is it easier to work with?
American engines are the simplest engines on earth. They are the most basic yet robust engines on earth, because they do one thing and they do it well. And the type of engine that American cars are like, that I have, for example, are still the same ones you find in today's cars. Today's Corvette, they're push rod engines.
Yeah.
Like, so this is something that is really testament to American engineering. They're so far ahead back in the day, you know. So I love American cars if I want to restore or work on, because anything you could possibly think of is available online, whether it's parts, information, knowledge, whatever. You know, you have access to everything. And you can buy new parts, or you can buy used. You'll always find anything you want, down to the smallest bolts. And I'm like, I'm very picky, and like I try my best not to be, but I hate using the word like, with cars, I'm a perfectionist, because I hate like something being, you know, that tiny little detail.
I'm gonna ask you these in a bit, but
yeah. So I was
now you're
thinking
working
about
on the
BMWs. If I wanted to buy it, like I'm a BMW guy, I'm wearing a BMW.
yeah, I was
know?
gonna ask you, like, if you're working on these Americans and your love is for BMWs as well, like, why don't you buy a BMW and work
Because
on it?
I don't want to go junkyard hopping to find parts. That's it. Because a lot of like, for me, I can't restore a car to like 90%. it has to be fully complete, you know, and a lot of parts are no longer available
with like German manufacturers.
Yeah, so because American manufacturers have support, they still manufacture parts for old cars, and they have licensed their products to other people, so you can still, I'm telling you, you can buy down to the smallest bolt, anything you want, you know, so you end up with a new car finish every time. So with German cars, I was thinking about it, is parts are going to be expensive, much more expensive than American cars. They're going to be rarer. And they're just gonna be a bitch to find sometimes, you know. And for me, I love I love BMWs, you know. Yeah. So for me, doing this, like, soon at one point I was gonna buy an 850 V12, and that is one hell of a car, my dream BMW, and I can still go for it, you know. There are few available, but I can't, like, personally at this point. I have enough on my plate, and in general, unless I can secure the parts,
if you guys look at the garage, it's a fucking mess, man.
Like, there's no way you can stay stay organized. You can keep telling yourself that, but there's always going to be like a point where you just deep dive, especially when you're working on dismantling, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'm going to ask you here, like, how do you know like what goes where, and how do you stay organized when you're working on a car like this?
All right, so
I mean,
I'll tell you
pretty much the Corvette, if you guys can't see unless you follow Nick, the car is pretty much in pieces. It's literally the size of a garage right now.
It's two cars, yeah.
It's two cars. Like, the body is on one side of the garage.
Yeah, the chassis.
The chassis is on another. Parts everywhere. There's literally parts on the floor around us. So like, how do you know like where this, for example, bolt or piece goes after you take it apart?
So
what's your process?
I don't know if anyone can see, but I have the factory assembly manual behind me right here for the Corvette. Okay. That is something I just use in case I ever feel like, you know, I'm lost, but I've never opened it. I've bought it. I've never opened it. Yeah. The thing is, when I learned through working on the Blazer, so the Blazer, I just went deep dive. Okay, let me take everything apart. Yeah. Then I'm like, fuck, where does this bolt go? Yeah. You know, I'm just like, shit. In the end, I ended up buying new bolts for everything just because like they were just they were pretty rusted out, and you know you can put it back together. Yeah. You can put it back, but like nothing guarantees it won't snap when you try to take it off again. Yeah. So I learned, like, the Blazers where I made mistakes and I learned from them in terms of management and stuff. Because I took apart everything, I put them in bags, labeled them. Okay, but I wouldn't be clear enough. I would write like dashboard, then I would have like 6 bags that say dashboard.
I remember when you and your dad were taking apart the engine, like you had like Ziploc bags and you're putting parts into them, and your dad was like, yeah, mark this with like a marker and like say whatever it is.
And we did do that, both me and my dad. That was like the first time we full on like deep dive, you know, dive we did. And it wasn't enough.
There were like jars behind me.
This is the new and improved. Like, khalas, we now know where everything is. What's it called? So with the Corvette, what I did is every time I took off one piece, I would bag the bolts or whatever, and I would tape them to the piece. All right. Khalas, so there's no way I would like lose anything, you know? Yeah. And that works. That worked. Khalas, the engine's fully back together, everything. One problem I do face though is when you work on the car and sometimes you get very carried away. You're like, okay, wait, I got stuck here. Let me take a break off of this, but I'm still energetic. Let me work on something else. Yeah. And that's my problem. So I start bouncing around from place to place.
Multitasking is
what leads to like the chaos.
Mistakes and chaos.
But in the end, it's an American car. Bolt, like it's really the simplest bolts and nuts. So it all comes back.
How do you assess which parts you need when you first buy the car? Like, when you first buy it, do you know, like, this is something I want to change? This is good. I'm going to keep this. How do you know?
Okay, so I can give you 2 examples. So with the Crown Vic, for example, I know that the car didn't need any mechanical attention. But since the car, I don't have any knowledge of its previous service history, instantly, new fluids, new everything. And then as I owned the car and discovered more, I would change, you know. Yeah. I would, but there are a lot of things that I changed in pre-advance just to be sure, like spark plugs, filters, everything. I did that out of...
I mean, the Crown Vic was pretty much on the road instantly.
Exactly, No, I could... Like, listen, a lot of people drive cars in Lebanon that are, like, pretty unfit, you know, or unworthy for the road in that current condition. So Crown Vic was far superior to those. but still, like, you know, comparing it to
needed a
like the
few
cars
things.
and the Crown Vic was the first used car my family ever buys, you know.
Yeah.
So I didn't want that to be like a shitty experience. So I was just
Yeah.
like, okay, Dghri, new pads. I'm not like, in the end, that's your safety. New tires, fluids, prolong its life. So that was the Crown Vic's, like the approach with the Crown Vic. And then as I owned it, I discovered a few more faults and I addressed them. Okay. With the Corvettes and the Blazers, let me start with the Blazers. Both Blazers, because these are cars that are taken off-road and abused, and the engines are mismatched. Like, they're not original engines and whatnot.
Yeah.
You're destined. You know for a fact that there's gonna be, like, you know, some
Major
some
parts you're gonna have to
shoddy,
change.
you know, hey, like, not because anything, just out of sake, because what people here consider roadworthy is roadworthy, but it's unsafe, you know.
Yeah.
So just change that. So my approach in general with these cars, because I have a vision for them, and like I'm not doing it for profit at this point.
Yeah.
I simply change out everything, and it's excessive, and I know it, you know. But I would much rather have, let's say, a part that's in 100% new condition than have a part that's like in 20%, you know, like, you know, at the end of its life. And so that's with the Blazers. With the Blazers,
you don't want to risk a part like going
exactly
like after you put the car on the road and you're happy. Okay, I'm done with this. After like maybe
with the
20
Blazers,
kilometers.
all parts needed changing both ways.
Yeah,
you know, because
yeah.
they're like you don't understand how it works, but it works. You know.
Yeah.
So the Blazers, that was the approach. With the Corvette was unmodified, untouched by a Lebanese mechanic. Like, khalas, that was the dream. Okay, but with the Corvette, I knew I wanted to take this like further than the Blazer and do a body off restoration. So I did do that. And while I was at it, even though the car has very low miles, like 57,000 miles is nothing. It's like breaking for American cars.
Especially a car that's...
It's 45 years old now. It's 76.
76.
So it's 45 years old.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, all the parts are working. I have 3 of the same engine. These parts I know are in working order. Let me put them aside. I'm going to replace them both ways. And I'll put these aside in case there was ever any failure or anything. I'm never down on parts, you know. Like, I can, let's say it's winter. Okay, I'm not driving the Blazer, for example. I'm driving the Corvette, and the Corvette's something when I can just swap it out, you know. And with the Corvette, I also addressed a few things, like, and I do this with all the cars. I know what their weaknesses are, and I address them while I'm at this stage where everything is taken apart, you know.
Yeah.
So the Corvette has the Achilles heel of it is cooling, okay, because it basically has no front grills. It has very little airflow.
Yeah.
I upgraded it with a high flow water pump. Got the radiator checked out, cleaned, declogged, you know, and it's just these little things, you know, even though it works as
but
is.
You knew about these before going into it, that you had to address these.
Yeah,
right?
because of the forums, everything. Like, that's what I love about the internet, really, the access you have to information.
I mean, this question was more about like for people that want to go into restoring cars. That's why I asked it. Like, how
it depends. Are you restoring for profit? Or are you like, because you can recondition a part to work for many, many years, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm at a point where I price-wise, with American cars especially, it's very cheap to just get a new part. It's not worth the hassle, you know?
Yeah.
So it depends on what your goal is. Are you aiming for profit or are you aiming for pleasure, you know? So you can recondition a lot of parts. I still every part I took off the Corvette, for example, like the steering box. I don't have the skill or the tools to disassemble it and reassemble it properly. You know, to check up on it to make sure it's in tip top shape.
What, you got a new one?
So I took it apart and I sent it off. Made sure to someone here, someone Jay. Like, I trust Jay with everything, and whoever Jay trusts, I trust.
Yeah.
So just to make sure that it's in full working condition, and you know, like, if anything is slightly worn, replace it now rather than deal with it later.
Me with me.
So
so everything until you do yourself in your garage here, Bess, how did you set up the garage? Like, did you set up the garage in the intent of like working on cars, or was it like mainly a man cave, or just a place you park your cars?
So the garage went through 3 phases. The garage went through 3 phases.
Yeah.
It started off with basically a place you just park your cars, you know? And then I was like, no, but I love detailing. Like, I don't know if people can see, but I'm also a detail freak, you know? So I love detailing cars and everything. And I was like, I want this to be a place where, because I sometimes like really get extreme anxiety watching people in Lebanon, the way they wash the cars.
Yeah, ما
Like-
بيحطوا لك كل الجاي من تحت
No, like he
وبيحطوا لك
cleans
إياه
the
من فوق.
wheels, it goes instantly to the roof. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? So I'm a detail freak, and like,
You have
So-
yet to detail my car, by the way.
shit, is there space for it?
That's
Okay, there
true.
you go. So I wanted it to be like a detail bay and a washing bay, you know. And so I had, and always first thing I did when I got the garage though, I bought a tool chest. You know, like it's a staple. You have to have a tool chest, and we did do that. And then at some point before I bought the other cars, I was like, I want a workbench. I want to add a tape, like, you know, I want to take this full on like workbench. So I did do that. Got a vise, everything, you know. And then once the first Blazer came, the garage really just took a turn to like a full-on
garage.
workshop, you know. Yeah, like dirt down and dirt. Like, that's, you know, it is what it is. And I love using things to what they were built for, you know.
Yeah.
And I have this set up to be a place where I can work on any car without needing to ever go to someone else, because I don't like doing that, you know. So
my next question is, and we're gonna get to it, is إنه حتى you even built stuff in the garage that helped you مثلا to lift the car,
yeah,
lift the engine. And
Yeah.
your dad, you built.
that's purely my dad. I cannot
Yeah.
take credit for it because I was very skeptical, because I've always wanted, and I was going to get multiple times, a 2-post lift, like the same one you go and find out your
every
mechanic.
time you mentioned that.
And every time my dad would be like, you know, you don't really need it, and I was very close to getting it once, and then my dad's like, "Khalas, no, I'll show you something."
Okay.
I was like, "Okay, no, maybe it's just gonna like it." I come, man. My dad had built like a portable scaffolding, you know, and he fully built it. Had it like, it's basically made of metal. It's all welded
it's
together,
massive.
and it has a 5-ton winch on top, like a chain hoist, so I can lift off. And he's like, "Here, you can now lift." I'm like, "Really?" You know, I just wanted a 2-post
Really,
lift just for the reason of like, let's say you want to service a car, change its oil, jack it up, you just get under, you know. With this one's made more for you know, for pulling engines and
like
stuff. Yeah,
strap it off.
And we ended up using, so we didn't know at one point it's gonna end up, he built it for the reason of, in case you're one person and you need to remove the roof off the Blazer, you don't need the help of others. You just strap it and lift it. You're done, you know. And you just خلاص, it's in the air. And so little did we know it would end up like pulling car bodies off of chassis and stuff. So, but really great mind, and
props.
I've grown to like it. Yeah, really.
For the work. So yeah, that's, I guess it's a tool you guys made. So what tools have you gotten, and what tools do you want to get in the future? Like, what tools do you need?
Listen, when you work on cars, there's never a tool that you don't want to get. Like, there's always
something.
I can give you pages. I can write a book about how many tools I would want, because I'm in like the worst types of Facebook groups, like tool junkies anonymous, Snap-on addict, like. So I just
Americans,
go,
man. Americans,
no,
that's
the
the
thing
place
is,
to
it's
go
because
for.
since I was a kid, I would always go and buy tools.
Yeah.
Because me and my dad would always be working together on something at home, you know, something broke, microwave, fix it, you know. And so he's always had a sick tool collection, and every time I would go with whatever limited money I had, I would want to buy something, you know. I would convince myself like, yeah, this is it.
Wouldn't he let you borrow his tools?
He would, but it's different. Listen, having your own tools is really a different feeling. It's like you and your brother, you can share a jacket, but do you? No. So there are a lot of tools that, like, so I always had tools. I would buy sockets, wrenches, whatnot. But there are a lot of tools. You can always get a job done. This is something I've spoken about with my dad and with Jay, that a lot of times there are tools made for a job, okay, that you don't have.
Yeah.
And you don't realize until you're at that point where you're about to carry it out.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm here and I'm here. You end up creating something, you know, you make something work, you know, some monster tool or whatever, you know, it's a Frankenstein tool.
Yeah.
And you make it work, and it works. It gets the job done. Like, you get that thing unbolted or bolted or whatever. Next time you're out, you see, like, you're like shopping, or you just see, you're like, oh wow, that's that tool.
That's what I wanted.
That's what it's for. You're like, let me buy it.
Yeah.
You know, just in case, you know, you buy it and you end up never using it. But with
مسطوطة بالجارور
yeah, but for you it's the
dust.
comfort of like, yeah, I have
it.
No, but with American cars, the only thing I had to do, because these are old, I had to buy imperial sockets and wrenches. So basically, you know how Americans, they don't use like meters, they use like, so the sockets, even like the bolts and nuts, have slightly different sizes.
Yeah.
So if you use a millimeter wrench on it over time or too much, you might like round off the edges. So then you have to cut the bolt. So just got the right tools for to be able to take the car or the everything off and put back together without like really screwing it up.
All right. So is there any like particular tool that you want right now that you feel like you don't have but you could use on the Corvette?
Like, it's not a tool. It's basically, I've been really playing with the idea of having a pneumatic setup. So I have, my friend has let me borrow his snap-on impact wrench. Yeah. The one that's until
outside.
I bought one. So I'm waiting for that to arrive. But for the past year, he's let me, like, this guy is really, so I've borrowed his for a year, and it's a tool like before I didn't realize I needed. Like once I used it, the power it has, holy shit. You know, no bolt is strong enough, like nothing, especially with old cars, rusted bolts or seized. This thing is a monster. So I have those arriving. But back to the pneumatic setup, basically what I'm thinking of doing, or what I'm really toying with, is upgrading my air compressor, getting a bigger one, so that I can run power tools like the mechanic, like you hear the, you know, what I can, rather than buy batteries, battery went back, you know, it's all through air compressors. So that's something I really like to do.
Yeah. Talk me through sourcing parts for your cars. Like you mentioned very briefly, in American cars, it's much easier for you to source their parts. So how do you go about doing that? Do you get them from Lebanon? Do you ship them from outside? Where do you source your parts?
It depends. Mostly I get everything from abroad, because for example, the Crown Vic has 0 parts in Lebanon, like even a thermostat.
Yeah, it's not a very popular car here in Lebanon.
It wasn't sold in Lebanon. It was never offered.
But
like
you
a
see
thermostat,
like,
imagine a thermostat, because the engine in the Crown Vic is in other Fords, you know? They didn't even have that.
Wow.
You know, so in general, but even before I knew that, khalas, I put it in my mind, this car has no parts here. Everything I get from abroad.
Okay. So like
Amazon, for Ford, like I went through Blue Spring, Giants. There are these Ford dealerships, you know, that I buy off of, or Amazon, to keep it simple. And for American cars, like the Corvettes and the Blazers, some parts are, like the majority of parts are available here, but I personally make it a point to not buy them.
Why?
Because a lot of times, like now I understand, but prior, this is like, people would be like, I only want cash. I'm like, hey, this is sitting in stock since 1964. Like, you know, it's sitting in your warehouse. Don't tell me you need dollars now. Like, you know. So for me, I took it as a personal, like, a personal point to not support businesses that I feel like are exploiting people. You know,
makes sense.
So I would just buy everything from abroad, even if I end up paying more. I just feel like I'm happy I'm not supporting someone who I feel is doing something dirty, you know? Even though it's in his every right to do so, but there's a difference between slightly increasing your prices and then just being completely unrealistic, you know?
Don't you worry about like getting a part, then you find out it's not the part
that's you happened. I ordered once a door mirror for the Blazer, really an outside, like the part number, through part numbers on Amazon, I got a door handle.
Wow.
And it's not even for my car. It's like
so
for a 2004 Envoy.
In a case like this, what do you do?
You take the hit and you keep going.
Oh, okay.
Because like, you know, to do return, ship it back,
it's a hassle.
Khalas, you know, and like the parts you're buying are majority are like $20 or so, sub 20s. So
yeah, I mean this is part of the question here. Like, do you have any limitations? Like, do you face any limitations?
I can't order anything with batteries. I can't order liquids, and this is something I really hate. Is I'm very picky about the fluids I put in my car, you know, and I'm very picky about the brands as well.
So you're gonna have to.
And so if they're not available in Lebanon, like for example, I have break-in oil that I was using for the engine when I was like as assembly lube and whatnot.
Yeah.
That my dad had purchased before for the van for his Volkswagen, and I went to the same place to buy another. Even though it's like, you know, no one knows this place and it's German, whatever. Guy doesn't have it anymore, and I'm like really pissed off, you know. And these are the things I can't buy on Amazon or get here, so I end up having to settle with whatever's available locally, you know. So that's just the shitty part: batteries and liquids.
So no limitations on time, like for them to be delivered here or for.
Listen, DHL, I don't know if people know about this. DHL have Easy Shop as a service. Basically, they provide you with an address in the US and they basically forward whatever shipments arrive to you in Lebanon, and you pay before you check out. So it's not like it used to be before you use it. I once ordered, because I went to Virgin Megastore, I found a USB. It was like for $52.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I went on Amazon, it's 12. I'm like, I'm not getting, fuck that. You know, so I ordered it off Amazon. I ended up paying like 60,000 shipping and customs, which is $40.
Okay.
So I ended up at the same point, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that was before, because you wouldn't know. Once it arrives, they would charge you.
Okay.
It's no longer like that. Now you pay in advance. Unless customs sees it, what you pay is khalas, final. And I haven't had customs seize anything for me in the past, in the past 2 years. They only once seized a shipment of like security cameras. They thought I was, because I bought such a big amount, they thought I was going to distribute them.
Oh.
Like, you know, as if, yeah. So besides that, not a problem. And it arrives in less than a week. Like, you know, with the mics. We ordered the mics last time. 4 days they were here.
100%. Tab, what about the financials of restoring a car here in Lebanon? You're sourcing most of your parts from outside.
Yeah.
But everything that you do source from Lebanon, do you find it more expensive or like what?
It depends. Like, you know, sometimes you have to do the math of like shipping and customs and time, you know, versus buying it locally.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I realize parts here are more expensive for European cars. They charge you that premium. But for American car parts and everything, I found that the prices are somewhat very close. Like, you expect them to be a bit more because, you know, they have to do shipping customs. But they're within reasonable margins, you know. But Lebanon is a beautiful place if you ever want to restore a car or anything, because labor is cheap. You know, like in America, a paint job is like 6 to 12K sometimes.
Wow.
Really, like, they're really overboard unless you go for a $500 paint job with the.
So for someone that besides you that wants to restore a car here in Lebanon that doesn't want to or can't source their parts from outside, do you think it's relatively cheap for them to work on a car like that?
Again, it depends on what the car model is. Like, if you're going for, listen, ask any Porsche owner, take a part off of a Porsche Cayenne and an exact same part off of an Audi Q7 and an exact same part off of a Touareg.
Yeah.
And just look at the price markup between. So that's going to be the same thing with any other car. So it depends. Are you working on a car that's a premium brand? You know, like BMW will always charge more for things for the M4 than the M2.
Definitely.
You know, and that's just the game.
They're probably just the same exact part, but
yep,
they charge you a premium because it's a higher level
M4
car.
Yeah, there you go.
Taib, we have a few more questions, but I think we'll take a quick break and we'll finish off when we get back.
All right.
Okay. All right, so we're back, and to finish off, I wanted to ask you very briefly how you're documenting all the progress that you're working on the car. I mean, I know you have Nick Doing Car Things. You post maybe once or twice a week, sometimes.
No, I've been going for months.
But
stories every day.
Stories almost every day.
Yeah.
But posts.
Posts because listen, the thing is with posts is, I sometimes get, and this is something I get carried away with the work. I start life like it takes time to take apart the before, the during, the after, for every single part, you know. So I just, a lot of times I'm like, oh, okay, I start off doing that, then I end up like, really, I'm sidetracked and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to, you know. So but yeah, that's a thing. So when I document it with my camera, it's somewhat like more demanding, but when I do it with my phone, that's why I like my stories, you know.
So
just
easy.
Take your phone.
Man, that's why Instagram is so easy to work with. If you're
and then it's so easy, really.
Yeah.
There are the occasional fuck ups though, like where I would write a caption, it would post no caption, and it just wouldn't make sense. Really? Yeah, it happens a lot with me.
Never happened with me.
And sometimes if I post photos that are like not compilation, what do you call them? Like when you choose more than one, I forgot the name.
Multiple photos.
Yeah, exactly, multiple photos. Sometimes within those photos, one photo is going to be like black.
Yeah, I get that sometimes.
Yeah, and never post red cars on Instagram.
Oh, man, red cars.
The compression really fucks you.
Besides the compression of Instagram, red cars are the hardest cars to edit.
Yeah, because...
And after you post it on Instagram, it compresses it even more.
It makes it so shit.
It's horrible. Like, remember, once I posted the Huracan Evo on throttle shot. man, it compressed it and looked like
With
shit.
auto shine, when we used to post any red Ferrari or Lamborghini, it would always come off as oversaturated and really like 240p.
Sometimes it gets even pixelated and they're like small black pixels.
Exactly.
Inside
It just I don't understand the difficulty with the color red.
So weird. But yeah, so documenting your progress on the car, I feel like in the future this is gonna like have a sense of satisfaction and like looking back at
personally,
how it started and now what it turned out to be.
No, and especially I do this keep in mind, like I don't plan on selling anything, but I do this thinking that if I ever decide to sell, no one can tell me shit.
Yeah.
You know, like khud, fucking tell me like someone can do a better job, you know? Yeah. And that's
lots of confidence.
Listen, that's the thing though. A lot of cars that go for big money, people thinking, oh, I have a M3 E30. No, unless you have documentation on like how you've maintained it or whatever, it's worth nothing. Yeah. You know, it's worth much less actually, not nothing, but yeah.
So, but until you're not doing it to sell, you're just doing it for like self gratification.
I love cars. That's the problem. I love cars, and I really think it's an issue is because I'm down to buy any type of car. Any car I find, I will find a use for or a vision instantly. That's my problem, and I hype myself up before I buy a car, like, which is the worst thing.
You have like an engine sitting here, like I'm gonna make a cart out of it, and like
we have an extra. We have a spare. 1.4 or 1.2 liter flat 4 from the Volkswagen from the van.
You're gonna build a chassis
and a transmission. We have an extra transmission because we swapped in a Porsche 914 engine into it, so it's a 2.0 flat 4. We also my dad built that. I told him I don't want anything to do with this car.
I think we very briefly glanced over this. You also have a VW van that you restored. Your dad restored. Yeah.
We'll come back to it. So basically, we have a left. Like, you know, anyone in their right mind, you have an extra transmission and an extra engine laying around, just doing there, like just sitting. You know, you can have them sitting forever, or you can just put them to good use. So we're in the mountains, and a lot of times our house is multi-level. So a lot, like you know, to go up and down, you have to take stairs, and so if you're hauling stuff and anything. We're just gonna build like a little golf cart with the engine and transmission. Just get a small steering rack.
But just so that we don't sound lazy. One side of the house is on a street level. The other one is on another street level.
Yeah.
Mission like staircases like we're just lazy to go on.
No, I wish there was a staircase that takes me inside the house.
To
the garage.
The garage is on a street level.
They're separate. Yeah,
they're separate. That's why. So I told him it sounds interesting to have like a cart to haul
in general. So like for me, any car has huge potential. Like I've been really looking for a Peugeot 206 because I saw Matt Watson on CarWow taking them off-road. Like he got some salvage cars and he took them. And I just fell in love with the 206 just because I used to have a Peugeot 307 station back in Syria, and it was such a shit car. It was absolutely horrible. I've never owned a car shittier than that, you know? And so I don't know. I always tell myself, this is gonna be a beater. I end up like restoring it back to but like the Peugeot 206 is a very low-key car, and I feel like it would be great fun.
See, ده حلو انه to appreciate every car for what it is.
Man, everyone tells me how many times have I sent I want to buy a van, and everyone be like rape van. I'm like, why? Just because it's a 70s. Have you seen the 18?
What do you mean?
The show.
Yeah,
the 18. You've seen the GMC van they have?
The 18.
No, the 18.
The 18.
Okay. I love that van. I love American vans because, like old American vans, you get 4-wheel drive and V8. Like, what more do you want, you know? So I have very, like, I really like very quirky cars, you know? Any car, someone offers me, like, you want that? If the price is right, I will find something for it, you know? That's the problem. But
you have to like make it work with the parents though, because sometimes, especially your mom.
Unless it's like cheap enough, like, you know, if it's like in the sub $500 range, and I've been trying to find a car like that, I think it's fine. But like
the thing is with his mom, she used to always have a problem with you parking the cars next to the grass, and now like.
My dad is now parking the cars on the grass.
On the grass. وخلاص. حتى his mom like doesn't give a shit anymore. Like, خلاص, it is what it is.
Listen, she won. She designed the backyard the way she wanted, and we're just making the best of. We're just playing the cards we were dealt.
Zeb, do you have any future cars you're eyeing and you're like looking?
Are you really asking me? The person who just goes on OLX. and go through a 44-page search for fun? Like, is this something you really want to do?
I mean, it's just one car. Not don't go through all of this.
I'm gonna give like a 4 cars.
What?
Okay, no, I really want to do something, and there's a short bus. The short bus that we spoke about before.
School bus?
I really have a vision for it because just lift it, some off-road tires, because it's not very long wheelbase. Yeah. I'm not saying to go off-road, it's gonna go like off-roading with the Wranglers and whatever.
Yeah.
No, but it will take you off-road, like if it's a smooth tala or whatever. It'll take you can camp out. It'll be a nice thing to, I like the off-the-grid vibe with it. And then I already spoke about the Peugeot.
Yeah, you did.
And I absolutely love station wagons. If I can find any car I love R6s, I love BMWs, but I'm speaking about American, like a Buick Roadmaster. Mm-hmm. Like, I absolutely worship like, the land yacht cars. I love those. So
those are 3. But I mean, these are the cars we mentioned before on OLX Finds.
Man, I'm a simple person. I'm a simple man. I see a car, I like it.
So mainly the school bus and the Peugeot and
just
quirky cars.
Like, I was at one point eyeing a hearse, but
I remember, man, you sent that to the group. I was like, what? Why? Like,
because
think about your neighbors, man. That's so funny. Then
it's their problem. No, but like, think about for me, a hearse would have been like Volvo 240. Cool. That's what I really was going for.
Man, I agree. It's cool as fuck, but I mean, it's weird. Why?
Yeah, but why not? At the same point. Yeah. No, but there was something I seriously gave consideration, and I almost got because I'm unable to do it because I already have enough on my plate. I tried to convince my friend to buy it. We went all the way through, but stopped last in the end. Like, we were planning on buying a Volvo 240 and LS swapping it as a sleeper build. So it would have been like really
stupid.
It's not stupid. Listen, you can make it an airport hauler. Like, let's say once COVID is all said and done, your friends, like 6 of your friends are arriving. You're like, yalla, I'll pick you up in the Volvo. Throw the bags in the back, like whatever, And no one would look twice at that car. And I would just love to shatter the ego of some like Lamborghini or Ferrari owner who think they have a fast car just because it's expensive. Like 335 N54 guys, no. Like N54 guys are marad, bro. Really, like are my friends at When you guys watch this, sometime around the time you watch this,
we mentioned them last
time. This car's gonna be 800 wheel horsepower.
Yeah,
and the exterior looks very stock.
Yeah.
Marid.
He's the guy that we mentioned before with Boya. He's the refrigerator. He mentioned him as a refrigerator. Ice cube refrigerator.
Man, Boya really threw that out the park. Yeah. So I just love fucking with people.
Yeah,
I get it. Like, just because you have an expensive car doesn't make you better than anyone else. That's it. That's just the message I want to get across.
Do you have any resto mod companies that you look up to? Not look up to, but get like inspiration from?
I think you're not a car person if you don't mention Singer.
For 100%.
Singer is what I aspire to reach.
Man.
But the problem is I do not have the tools in
or
Lebanon,
the money to...
Not the money.
It takes a lot of work to get a car.
Of course, no.
Because the outcome literally is a masterpiece. It's an art.
It's an art piece.
It's an art piece.
No, but like, for example, a lot of tools they use, we don't have in Lebanon, period. There are a lot of specialty tools, that no one here gets.
Beautiful cars, though.
And personally, I believe like any person, let them spend enough time doing something,
they can perfect
They will master it. So like...
Yeah. How long have they been in the game? They've been in the game for a while.
Like 10, 15 years, I think.
Yeah.
But like the finishing they have is because they have access to CNC. They have access to 3D scanning. Like 3D scanning and printing is easy. Like I can buy a 3D scanner whenever I want, like a handheld one. But like CNC machines, custom making. Like I learned for fun how to model 3D things on Autodesk Fusion 360. Like it's 3D modeling, basically CAD software. Mm-hmm. And I designed a custom dashboard for the Volkswagen just for fun. There's no way I can bring it to reality because there's like, where am I going to get this shit?
Yeah, I mean, for them, they just like design something, send it out. It's done.
Exactly.
In like a week.
And they have access to tools or people who have the tools to do it, So
and they're based in California?
Yeah, they're based in California.
Yeah.
So
what about Icon?
Icon. I love them. I used to like
And
really
they
look up
mainly
to their
specialize
builds
in,
and off-road. Listen, no,
vehicles.
they have also other. They have like what is it called? Derelict vehicles. Basically, they buy a car that's really untouched
Okay.
in the sense if it's been parked in a yard for like 40 years,
Yeah.
and they just keep it as is.
So like the patina and
The
everything
patina
is still there.
exactly. If I show you a
Yeah.
few of their cars, you'll see, or we'll put them up somewhere here.
Yeah, sure.
We'll let's give them a 5-second. Wait, 1,
Are we looking at
2,
them right now?
3, 4, 5. So they appreciate. No, so they take those cars, they keep them looking as they found them, but they make very subtle, like not subtle.
Yeah.
They make major modifications to them that you will not be able to see or tell. You know, and then they design custom dashboards, custom gauges, everything to match that car. It's absolutely perfect. I love their approach. I love everything, but when it comes to their normal like FJ Cruisers or their Blazers or whatnot, I realize they're not really doing something that special. They basically get a car, sandblast it, get new axles from a company. Like you know, you're just buying, you're ticking off. You know, anyone can do that. I just keep.
Yeah.
It's not like there's the amount of custom work they're doing, in my opinion, isn't that much. There are some projects that they really go out of the park with it.
What do they do? Do
they
have
rest
a client?
They rest.
No, client بيجيب لهم سيارة وهن they get a
It
car
depends.
and then they sell it.
A client can provide them with a vehicle, or they can source it for them.
Okay.
As Singer, you have to provide them with a vehicle.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and they have to sign off on it, and you're good to go.
All right. Any other car companies, restoration car companies you can
like
think
you
of?
can say Gas Monkey Garage.
Yeah.
Off of Discovery, Wheeler Dealers, even though they're not, Wheeler Dealers are in the resto mod game somewhat. You know, some cars they do buy and like restore them subtly, whatnot.
What was that show on Netflix with the Canadians?
The Junkyard. I did not like that.
I forgot what it was called.
I know it.
I remember they always used
Rust Valley.
Rust Valley. That's the one. Yeah. But have you noticed how Canadians say project, not project?
Sorry.
Project.
Sorry.
I'm
Canadian too. No, but in general, Dennis, by the way, people, I'm gonna give you a really nice channel to follow on YouTube. Dennis Collins Jeep, or Dennis Collins is his name on YouTube. He's the guy who used to be on Gas Monkey Garage, like Dennis, who used to always give Richard money, blah blah. They actually are partners, but this guy goes out. His knowledge never ceases to amaze me. Really, he knows everything about every car.
Yeah.
He's a walking encyclopedia. So when he goes to buy cars, he can identify them like this, really. And the nice thing, his videos is he walks you through the process of him going to the cars, finding them, buying them, then restoring, like, through how to really check them out. Amazing channel.
All right, cool. I do have an OLX find. We weren't really prepared for this, but I just remembered one that's, I think, appropriate for this podcast, for this episode.
Is it one that would like
wait, hold up.
Speak to me?
No.
Oh. Yeah, I know this car. I'll tell you everything you need to know about this car. This car is in my brother-in-law's parents' building.
Is it? Because I spoke to Steph. I thought
it used to be in his building too.
Really?
Yeah.
But let's tell them what it is. It's a Volkswagen Beetle, 1959. He says it's like new. The car looks beautiful. Honestly, I've seen this in person.
Wait, can you scroll down a bit? Yeah. Let's see.
This here? Oh, this is the Surso. Yeah.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I know everything about every car on OLX.
So Volkswagen Beetle 1959, very clean car, leather seats, all original parts. I love the racks on it, honestly.
I love the finish. It's a great finish and everything.
And
but
these taillights on this generation.
No, because that's the proper one.
Exactly.
But would I personally buy it? I would buy it if, I don't know. I like this.
Yeah.
But I would much rather buy one that's that is 1959 and fix it up myself. Fix it up
yourself. Yeah.
I don't know.
But like for some people, they might.
Yeah, of course. No, it depends.
The hassle of it.
And no, even me sometimes might be like, let's buy it.
And that's the interior, man. Just like one gauge in the center, and that's it.
That's your speedo gauge. You don't even get a tachometer. You don't know what RPM you're at.
Yeah. So cool, man.
Do I share some knowledge about what my dad's doing with that car? That's the same engine outside, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a 1.2.
Such a cool car, but maybe I'll just post a couple of pictures of it up top, and you guys can see it
as we're scrolling.
There's an Abarth in the back, and
you've been show us, give us that sound effect. Noor, this is for you. This is your cue. If you've made it this far,
I really wanted a bar.
you're gonna be rewarded.
Yeah. So should we end it here, or you want to say something?
I just wanted to into the VW. What I just want to say is like, I just hope the culture of working on your car or like doing something yourself
Grows here in Lebanon.
Grows here, because in Lebanon people tend to be like, no, khalas, I'll just take it. Like, I want people. I would really like be very happy to see people doing more, like, you know, working. Yeah. For me, by the way, I realized something. It's a very American culture thing.
It is,
and it's because we grew up with I grew up with like American television and Discovery and all of that.
Well,
shit.
you're following the Facebook pages for middle class.
Yeah,
what is it?
Middle class garage goals.
Yeah. It's usually not middle class garages.
Then like someone pointed out, it's called gold. You know, but like I love seeing other people's workshops, what they're doing. You know, and I hope the culture, the garage culture grows here, because man, there's nothing better than being able to do something yourself and doing it right. And if you fuck up, you only have yourself to blame, but you don't tell people that. I think we can end it on that.
I think on that note we can end it here. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we will see you on the next one, guys.
Yalla, take care, stay safe, wear your masks.
Peace.